Hey YouTube, Ultra Magnum here, and today we're taking a look at Fans Toys Maverick, the masterpiece representation of Silverbolt. Before we get going, if you're new to my channel, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. Okay, let's get into it. In terms of accessories, we have the standard Silverbolt blaster that we all recognize with the wings. It's nicely sculpted, there is some detail on it, really nice paint finish. It is a little short. It fits very snugly in the hand with a standard masterpiece tab. It will hold in without the hand closed, so it's obviously very snug in there. And also a plus point for me is that it doesn't have any clearance issues between the back of the blaster and the wrist. And I've noticed that a few figures lately seem to have that issue. So the only critical point for me is that it is a little on the short side. So I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. In terms of posability, some parts of this figure are good and some are not so good. So the arms are good. You've got ratchets, swivels, elbows and all of those kind of things. You do have to pop them out to go to the side, but that's fine, that's okay. The head is quite limited in terms of up and down. It's got a swivel. You do have to rock it back to achieve that. That's not too bad. The main issues really, I think, are on the legs. The kibble on the back here causes clearance issues with this part, the wing part, and also going forward the hip skirts do come up. However, you can't really get the clearance. You have to kind of push this out to get the clearance, and that's not ideal. That being said, to be honest, it can't really hold many dynamic leg poses anyway, just due to the fact that it's not got much of a rocker. That's one. So it's got good back and forth. There is a little bit to the side that you can do, but it's not enough, and it's not complemented by the knees. I think that's probably where the issue lies. So once you start to move the knees, they're on strong ratchets, don't get me wrong, but because of the weight of the figure, they're not strong enough. He will fall back if you're not careful, and that combined with the limited rocker at the bottom just means you're not going to be able to do too much with him in that respect. So this is very much a figure that you're going to be posing in an upright fashion. He's not going to be doing anything too crazy. That being said, I have found that he's very good at pointing meaningfully off into the distance. He has a dignified air about him, so that's good. Final score on posability, 7 out of 10. In terms of steadiness, he's got that because he has such huge, weighty, chunky feet, and there's lots of weight in the lower parts of the legs. Having said that, there is a little bit of give in terms of these knees, and that combined with the weight at the top of the figure means he's not going to topple by himself, but he is quite easy to kind of nudge, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to take 1 point off for that, 9 out of 10. Onto face sculpt, and I have to confess, when I first took this out of the box, I thought that the kind of monobrow, if that's the right word, was a little bit big. It was kind of like, wow, that's quite pronounced, and you can see it there from the side. It does jut out somewhat. But then when I went back and refreshed my mind with some pictures of the original G1 cartoon character, he is really actually quite consistent with that. So the only critical point, I think, is the eyes are probably a little too small on the figure compared to the original. Other than that, it's actually a pretty good representation. The detail is excellent, the sculpt of course, and the paint finish also. You also get an alternate head. It's exactly the same head casing all around, apart from obviously the expression, kind of horrified look. Again, it's exceptionally well painted and detailed and sculpted. It really is nice looking. And on top of that, you get a different faceplate with this kind of chin strap on the bottom there, Again, that looks fantastic. That there is a way of just kind of clipping this into the casing, all of which goes onto the figure with a kind of mushroom peg there. So face sculpt all round on all three is excellent. It's top notch, really top notch. 10 out of 10. The Optimus test. So it's pretty obvious that he's a lot bigger and chunkier looking than you would want against your Optimus, which for me is the scale standard that I kind of use. He's just kind of towers above him. So this is Op Leader. You'll have the same issue with MP44 and the Magic Square. It's something I've said before. I think Fans Toys, if they're going to have their own internal scale, fine, great, but then they need to release the main characters to kind of define that. Bring out their own Optimus and bring out their own Megatron, because until they do, all of their stuff is just going to look great and consistent with other Fans Toys figures, but kind of leave a little to desire with the rest of the shelf. So on that note, I'm gonna have to take off 2 points and give him 8 out of 10. In terms of quality, this figure is absolutely exceptional. If we talk about the paint first, everything is painted from head to toe, from the red to the yellow, the white and the black, and it's all beautifully finished with a really nice flecked metallic kind of sheen. It is top notch. The detail is absolutely everywhere. Everywhere where there's a panel, there is details on it. We've got nice translucent bits with sculpt under that as well. It's just got nice little touches also. So instead of leaving a gap down here after the transformation, you've got the slidey bit that comes down, and look at that. I mean, it's sculpted, detailed, painted, everything really top notch all over. So really impressed with that. In terms of cleanup, the back isn't as good as the front. I don't mind the kibble on the back here because that's part of the figure, and to be honest, going from what it goes from jet wise to this, that's really small, given particularly how big the alt mode is, which we'll get onto in the last section. For me, I think this could have been done better. If that had been tucked into the nose cone of the jet somehow, that would have really finished off the back quite nicely. There's a bit of openness down here underneath and also on the legs, but to be honest, that's not kind of a focal point of the figure, so I'm not too bothered about that. Final score and quality, 9 out of 10. On to presents, and the thing that makes this figure stand out on the shelf is the paint finish and quality. It really pops, and the fact that it characterizes Silverbolt so well kind of adds up to a figure that looks great on the shelf. As I said before, you're not going to get him doing too many dynamic poses, but what he can do, he has character, which is what you kind of want. He can do those things well. Where he loses it is this thing at the back. It's really irritating, actually. So I'll have to knock a point off for that on presence. There you go. I'm being harsh, maybe, but it does. It is a bit of an issue. Overall, though, for me, this is great. It's a great looking Silverbolt. It's fantastic. 9 out of 10. In terms of engineering, the figure is really good. The transformation requires a lot from the figure, and it is backed up by solid stuff. There are metal pins and tabs and all of those kind of things that support the complexity of the transformation, which is good. And there are no kind of weird clearance issues where you have to move things past things that have no business moving past things, if that makes sense. All good. I think the engineering for me is lost here on the knees and the legs. So this is where it could have done better, because you're going to need more to support this kind of weight of bot, Just one critical point for me on engineering. So 9 out of 10. In terms of transformation, he's a little bit of a beast. So I've opened this all up already, but basically there's lots of steps and lots of unfolding things, and while you're doing it, lots of things flapping around, and you might be working on the bottom bit and this bit's all wobbly and those kind of things. So it's almost like Road King in that respect, and if you enjoyed and had fun with the transformation of Road King, you will enjoy and have fun with the transformation of this figure, and likewise the opposite is true. It's backed up, however complicated it is backed up by good quality engineering, as I said in the earlier section. So all of this stuff is die-cast metal, and you're not left with anything that feels like it's going to break. So that's a real plus point for me. It doesn't necessarily give it that fun factor in terms of transformation. However, it's solid all the way through, which is good. So in terms of flapping things around and whatnot, I think this is probably a bit difficult to kind of show, but this is the worst step or part of the transformation, if you like, because pretty much everything in the upper torso is expanded out and exploded out on limbs and things like that. But still, it is all metal and nicely secure, so that is good. So yeah, in summary, there are lots of kind of moving parts to this figure. Pretty much everything moves. In fact, everything explodes and moves and then is shuffled around into a different place. The back section in particular there are lots of things that you need to line up, and you'll just have to kind of squeeze things and push things into place as you kind of go along. Time wise, it took me just under 20 minutes. So that should give an indication of the kind of length and complexity of the transformation. So fun wise, it's not a fun transformation for me. It's a complex one. That being said, there is nothing massively frustrating in that, because the complexity is backed up by excellent engineering right the way throughout. So the engineering supports that complexity, and therefore it doesn't become a chore. It's well worked. It's not intuitive, definitely. You wouldn't call it an intuitive transformation. But yeah, overall, it's good. It is what it is. So final score on transformation, 8 out of 10. So once you get through the lengthy yet unfrustrating transformation, you're left with, well, frankly, a huge alt mode. First off, it's bigger than my light box. I'm having to step back, but more importantly, the quality is exceptional. It really is top notch. The paint on this figure is just great in both modes. It's nuts how good it is. But also it's the details. It's the sculpting and the details, from the little cabin lights, the doors, the translucent on the cockpit is great. You've got nice chrome retractable wheels. Round at the back, the thrusters are really well done. There's sculpt everywhere on the fins, and you know, it is exceptional looking. Really nice. I think one critical point is there is a bit of paneling or gappiness in the panels, I should say, which I think is more obvious on the screen actually than to the eye, because you know, in hand your eye is drawn to the quality of the figure. I mean, this is Concorde. This looks like Concorde. It's great, but you know, there are a couple of gaps and things present. They're just part of how the figure's constructed. You know, going from what it's got to go from and where it gets to. Obviously, these are sticking out, but you know, the original had this, the G1, the character, the cartoon, so you expect it. That's fine. A little bit of bot bit sticking out from the side is part of Silverbolt's alt mode for me, so that's not really an issue. Yeah, it's exceptionally nice Nicely done, really great. 9 out of 10. So adding all of those together, we get a final score of 8.6 out of 10, which is a good score and it reflects a good figure. So he's got bags of quality and detail and sculpt and all of those good fans toys things. Lots of die cast and sturdy construction all throughout. Bit of a long transformation, bit of an intricate one, but it's backed up by the stuff inside, which helps. There's a couple of niggles. The main one for me is the metal bar, but you know, nothing's perfect. So I got this on the back of Goose. I thought Goose was so good. I had to check out Maverick, and I'm going to go all the way in on these guys now and see what the Superion or Etherion fans toys looks like. I think it'd be interesting to see how they deal with the weight of this figure because he is such a big chunky guy, but we will see how that goes. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. Please hit the subscribe button and press like and leave comments down below. Bye for now.